So I'm going to actually jump in the software and show you the software. I've got a few slides here just in case as a backup. But brief history about Visual Project Editing tool. Eric mentioned it started with California. We were having a discussion with California, and they talked about all of these projects that pavement planners and analysts are seeing in these data grids and are trying to analyze them and saying, okay, when should we do these projects? There is seal code, there is pavement patching, there is pothole fixing and all of those things. And there were a lot of projects that you had on a particular route, sometimes by lane, and you would look at them and you'd say, okay, that data grid looks great, but can we visualize them on a linear diagram? How many of you are pavement analysts, planners over here, and have worked with pavement management system and AgileAssets? Few over here. So I'm going to show you one of the slides here. Michael was talking earlier this morning about the power of visualization. This is where it all started. Visualizing all the projects in a data grid is great, but visualizing them in a linear space diagram, visualizing them on the map was the next step. And so it started with Caltrans. Caltrans gave us this feedback, and then we validated this with Delaware as well as with North Carolina, and we started talking to them, and they said, okay, yeah, we do this a lot. We would love to have this kind of a tool, and this is what we would like to have. And so there was a lot of feedback too. Again, going back to customer engagement and the power of visualization. So this was something that actually originated that way. So just a quick look at the screen when it first comes up. For those of you who are planners, I'm going to try to get into duplication mode so that way I'll have to write. I know the resolution is bad. I don't want you to look at the screen and try to read anything here. This is exactly the point. When you look at all of these projects on your screen, each row here is basically a project that you're doing in a particular year that has been recommended by the pavement scenario analysis from the system, saying, okay, do these projects in the next 3 to 5 years, and these are these type of projects. Looking at them in a data grid is good, but then when you start visualizing them, you understand a little bit better what exactly is going on with them. And where exactly you're doing what. So this is a particular route that I'm going to look at. I'm going to just look at these projects in a visual time-space diagram here. And you saw a screenshot of this earlier this morning. What you essentially are seeing here is on the left-hand side, you've got the years 2012 to 2015, 2016. So this particular scenario analysis was run for a 5-year period where somebody wanted to know what projects they should be doing over that time frame. Of course, this was run starting 2012. Today, you would run it in 2015 to 2020. And then you've got the lanes here. So you've got 3 lanes here. This is all lanes in one direction. So this route is actually an interstate highway route that's going in one direction. And so you've got 3 lanes all across in those 5 years that you're showing. On the top here, you've got your mile points, whatever your LRS system is, mileposts. So you're basically seeing those things. And then the projects are plotted in the time-space diagram. So a much better way of visualizing all the projects instead of just looking at the data grid and trying to figure out where exactly they're happening. So one of the things Caltrans told us was we have all of these projects that we do by lane. And again, I repeat, they had all of these projects they do by lane. You can always do projects in a particular direction, but because they had all of these projects in a particular lane, it became really complicated to visualize them in a data grid, because you've got so many of these projects by lane that you have to try to see, okay, so this is a seal code project here, this is a seal code project here at mile point 560 or something, and then you've got another seal code project that you're doing again in 2015. You've got a small project here, then you're doing this one project again in 2015. There's another project here in 2013. Can we move all of these projects up here? What's going on here? Why are we doing another project here when we are doing one project in 2013 here? So visualizing overlaps, visualizing, can I actually make sure that all the projects can be done together so that I can minimize traffic disruptions as well as all the other logistical costs associated with actually delivering the project is something that this visualization really helped see. In terms of using the tool, once you have launched the tool, what you're able to do is you're able to select a particular project. You see this crosshair that comes over, and you can actually move the project in its own lane, for that matter. So if you can come down here, you say, okay, so this is a project that I want to do here. This is another project. I want to probably extend this project a little bit. I'm going to move this project all the way over here. This project needs to be done all the way up until over here, but it looks like I'm doing some seal code project here. So maybe I need to move this up here first. So what I'm going to do in this particular case is I'm going to come down here, extend this project, move it all the way here, take this project, either to remove it altogether, and so in order to remove it, I can just come down here and say, you know what, I'm just going to take this project out, and I'm going to just delete this project. Alternatively, I can come down here, select this project, and say, I'm going to move this project to 2012. And so I'm going to select here, it shows in 2015, and I would be able to do 2012. And as soon as I hit 2012, the project has now moved to 2012. One of the feedbacks we got after we had built this tool was, can you actually drag the project across the years and move it directly across vertically to 2012? And that's something that we are looking at in our next upcoming version. We wanted to get the first piece ready, where at least you are able to visualize it, you're able to move the projects within the years to start with, and then starting to move across the years would be the next step. So now that you have moved this project in this particular year, you're still looking at a lot of seal code projects that the system recommended, and you're thinking, you know, maybe we can just merge all of these projects. You can select this project, you can select a project right here. I just hit the shift key and it selected all projects in the middle, and I can come down here and hit merge, and it would basically merge all of those projects. If I come down here, I'll look at these three projects, select all of them, and I would basically come again and say, okay, I just want to merge these two projects. If I had basically extended a project and start and end mile points, move it over here, introduced an overlap, the system would have basically recognized that overlap. So if I say, okay, let's do this, the system would basically say, no, you have introduced an overlap. It doesn't make sense to do two projects on top of each other. And so in this particular case, the system highlights it in red and says, okay, don't introduce these overlaps. So then you're basically able to come back and move the projects here to the right mile points. Does that make sense? You guys see the value of it? Any questions at this point? Yes, sir. Good question. The question is, when I'm making changes in the visual time-space diagram, would the changes be reflected in the data grid back in the results, in the scenario analysis results? The answer is yes. It would be reflected there. In fact, that goes to the next part of the presentation, which was when you have actually made those changes, you can come here, calculate the updated cost based on whatever per lane mile calculations, unit costs that you have. You can actually get out of the screen, and those changes would be, in this case, I'm just going to cancel those changes for now, but you can re-estimate the analysis results after those changes have been made to try to see, okay, what are the benefits look like now after making all of those real world changes. So, good question. Yes, sir. So one of the things the tool has, sorry, I should repeat the question first of all. So the question was, as you're making changes to the length of these projects or adding new projects to in the visual environment, could you keep a track on the amount of dollars you're actually playing with in terms of those edits? How do you track how much do you have in the bucket versus how much you've actually made changes for? There's no direct way of doing that right now. The indirect way is all of these projects are color-coded one by budget category, but you can always get into the settings and you can color them by treatment type or any other criteria you might have. So what you're able to do is you're able to see the budget group here. The data grid is still there right here. you're able to see the budget group, you're able to export the data, create a pivot table in Excel, or actually create a report right here and say, okay, I'm going to upload a report in the screen, and we'll just be able to see, okay, at the end of all the edits, what does my budget look like? How much allocations have I got against that particular budget element? So it would be a simple Jasper report that you would have to upload in the system. But it's not there in here right now, so that's a good point.
I'll let Michael go.
Yes, Michael.
When you rerun the scenario, is it a new scenario so that you can compare the original scenario before the changes to the new changes, or does it wipe out the scenario results and replace it with the new one?
It is the same scenario, and it would basically it would wipe out the changes. It would wipe out the originals in this particular case. What you can do, though, is you can copy the scenario, and then you can actually work with the copy of the scenario when you're making all of these edits, and then do the comparisons. There is a presentation that Alex Galinko is going to do in terms of how comparison of scenarios can be done in Pavement Analyst. We have introduced a new tool in the scenario analysis window itself, where you can actually compare multiple scenarios together just by saying, this is the scenario, I want 5 of the scenarios to be compared against this scenario. I don't know when exactly it's happening, but that would also work together with this. Yes, sir.
I guess I'm glad Michael asked the question, because he sort of gives me what I was going to say, is maybe to provide, I don't know if you're taking suggestions, but let me just hit it a little bit. Maybe to provide a way for, like maybe also as a right click for the updated project list now as a master work plan input to another analysis that you run, where you estimate budgets by the master work program now, and then we'll give you right there all of the budgets.
Right. So the comment here was, when you're making all of these changes, you can provide these changes as an input to another work plan. I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the things I wanted to show here, let me try to just get into this real quick here. So when you're creating a work plan, so of course the scenario analysis results, you've asked the system, make a recommendation, what project should I do, right? So that's great. One of the things that you can do here is when you're actually creating your work plans, you can actually go into your work plan window, and in that work plan window, let's say you create a new work plan. You can just come down here, you can come in and say copy analysis results. And when you copy analysis results, in this particular case, I can select a particular scenario from where I can copy results. I can come and copy all of these items. And then I can provide this small work plan as an input for analysis itself, and I can provide it as an input multiple times. I can actually copy results from multiple scenarios into a work plan and then feed it back as an input. So this is, and the visual project editing tool is also actually available in this screen. So whatever I showed you here in the scenario analysis screen, you can actually do this. That is the master work plan screen here, but you can actually see this visual project editing tool at this place as well. Okay. Any other questions?
Right now, you're kind of adjusting the length of the project. That's just one project, correct? So if you want to modify several projects, you have to go into several projects and modify them, correct?
Right.
I think in the future, maybe it would be nice to be able, on a GIS map, extend the length of several projects at the same time.
Right. We thought about that. That's a good comment. So I'll just quickly show you how something like that we can do. Even right now, it's still simplified, but we are looking for something better, even better than this. So one of the things that you can do is, let's say I wanted to merge all of these projects and then modify the length, right? I'm going to forget the merge part. I'm just going to come here, select this project, hit the shift key, and then select all of these projects right here. They all got selected, and you cannot see it on my screen here. Probably you can. Notice that all the records here are also selected. And then I can actually come here and do a mass update in this data grid and say, okay, I want to change the cost or the year of all of these projects, or I want to change the budget category of all of those projects, or any other attribute that you have. So the mass updates are currently here, where you would have to right-click, but you can still make the selections there. So we have gotten there to a certain extent. We'd love to see if, how can we make it even better so that it drives completely from the visual environment, which is, I think, what you were trying to say. So good point.
And I also concur with the previous comments in terms of the GIS visualization, because one of the issues that we have is that when we want to package, we need sometimes some geographical locations. For example, the position of the junction is critical for us when we package the works. So here, I only have the chainage, but I don't necessarily have these landmarks. So I don't know if it's possible to, maybe to have a line where we could visualize them. The other question I had, it's regarding the chainages, because if I take our network, so we have the network, we have different routes, so different highways, and after each highway is subdivided in sections. So in this window, what can you see? Can you see an entire route, or will it be only the section?
Excellent, excellent question. So, so I have actually got something else here to show. In the VPET settings, one of the things that you can set here is what are the data sets you want to show. It could be your bridges, it could be your maintenance sections, it could be any past projects, construction history. So those projects can be added here. I just set up one here, which is construction history. So you can actually look at what was the work that was done in the past. And this is configurable completely, so you can keep adding as many data sets as you want. You don't have to see all of them together. So that is one.
You also put a feature inventory like intersections, bridges, all those types of.
So what Eric is saying, you can actually put your asset inventory here as well, all the assets over there. One of the things I wanted to show was even point assets and point projects can actually be seen here. So if this is a particular project right now, I'm looking at this, it's got mile points here. I'm just going to make this edit here and show you how the point project looks on the, in the visual environment. I'm going to hit just this and hit save. Or actually, I don't even have to hit save. Can actually just come down here and notice that it became a point right here. You see that, right? So all of your point asset inventory elements or projects can also be shown that way. The map part, correct me if I understood your question correctly here. So show on map is definitely available here. So you can actually see all the projects in the map at any point, a single one or all of them together. But was this your first part of the question, or was that something different?
I wanted to find out what is the extent that we can.
Oh, okay, the extent. Okay, excellent. So again, in the settings, one of the things that you can specify is the extent. How many mile from what is your starting mile point to the ending mile point? What is the scope of your visual project editing tool? So you can actually specify a scope. You can go across an entire district, limit yourself to a county within a district, or look at an entire route for that matter. Right now, this is corridor level analysis, so it looks at a route. It's not a grid or a network, so you cannot look at multiple things. You can actually add your own corridors here as well. This is configurable too. So if there's some strategic corridor based on specific criteria, you can actually even put that as a filter and so work with that. So excellent question. Yes.
Would it be possible to see what it looks like when you turn on the construction history? Then,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So we'll just set construction history on. F11. So all the construction history got added down here. So it's showing 2005 history, 2006, 7. So and it's basically showing it in striped boxes. So you know that you cannot move the construction history, and so that's what you're trying to do. No, we actually realized that overlays, especially with projects, like if I'm trying to do seal coat twice over here, it would be an issue, right? Why would you do that? So we said that that's something that we shouldn't allow. So what in this particular case, what it does is when you do try to introduce an overlay, it gives you an error message. It says, and it highlights it, and it says, that's a warning. If your construction history had overlaps, then I think they will be shown. But then again, if you're planning using something like this and you're never actually allowing overlaps even in the past, then they would never come up as overlaps. So it's your data, so it would show up exactly as what it is. So. And it's organized by year. One of the main things, we are showing this in the pavement management session here, but one of the main things is this is projects, this is transportation projects. These could be a safety projects, this could be a bridge projects, these could be any projects that you've got. It's not limited to pavement projects. So this tool can actually be taken to other modules. Even within pavement management, it can be used to show other data sets that you might have that you might want to show. So that's where configurability of the tool comes in. So if you're looking at, I don't know, performance data, for example, or HPMS data, for example, we can try to start showing those kind of things. Again, editing HPMS data, I don't know about that. I mean, you don't want to really, but if you have like 0.1 mile segments or 10 mile segments that you're probably doing condition surveys or inspections on, especially on the maintenance side, those kind of things can actually be done with this tool as well. So there is a lot of scope in terms of taking this scalable and scale it up. So
I'm holding a mic, so I figured I must speak into it.
absolutely.
So you have, Caltrans is a lane-specific project. I know that the way their agency is. A lot of agencies that I've worked with, they're not necessarily, they're not. And a lot of times it's just all. So a project affects all lanes. Would that be adjusted in the screen if they were just, so it would just be, say, all there, and then it would be everything, so a single bar?
You can just plan this by direction. So this is showing the complicated scenario where you have the lanes. When we come in, when we try to bring this tool into your system, we'll talk about your LRS, we'll talk about whether you want to see it by lane or direction, and it can certainly be done that way. Even the fields that you see in the data grid here, where you can actually update all of those fields, they are all, you can actually hide and those kind of features. I mean, they're all there. So, okay. I think I covered shown map. I showed you the overlay, changing year, changing the start and the end mile point, moving a project within the lane or within the direction that it is in, launching the screen from the pavement master work plan or from the scenario analysis, showing point projects, assets, construction history. Those are some of the things we've been able to do with this. One of the feedbacks that we got pretty much from everybody, and I think we talked with Pascal as well at some point, and one question when he was talking about Connect Plus with me, he was saying, what about ability to print this? And so that's something that we have got in our roadmap. Right now, one of the things that we have here, which is not exactly a very cool way of actually printing this, is basically adjust your go full screen mode, zoom out on the screen, and then basically go to the extent where you're trying to, and just print it out. So that's one of the things, but we are trying to probably launch a report out of this, which actually shows you all your construction history, lets you define. So that's something that we have got on our roadmap too. But we're looking for such feedback. Again, and going back to what Michael said earlier this morning, if we would love to hear more about this tool. So if you'd like to come in and participate in those kind of feedback discussions, we'd love to hear from you. Any other questions?
You mentioned the construction history. Can you also create a category for future planned construction that would also be able to, or would that be again a third section then that you would have to set in there?
Right. So the question was, can you actually start looking at future projects as well over here that you're trying to plan for? What you were looking at, the projects that you're trying to edit, they are actually being recommended by the system for future itself. You're running scenarios and you're saying, okay, I want to see what projects I should do. So you're editing those projects as you're planning this. If there are other projects that are part of coming from other plans, you have a step from another place, you can absolutely bring them in and you can start showing those projects separately too. And so, yeah, I mean, if there are other sources of those planned projects or scheduled projects, you can absolutely show them too.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're looking to do is to actually tie in our capital history, our capital projected plans, as well as our maintenance projected plans, so that we've got everything in one place and not overlapping and not doing, you know, maintenance where we don't need to. If we're getting ready to come in and do a construction project, we certainly don't want to, you know, do an unnecessary maintenance treatment.
And there's no reason that the history there could be a union of projects from different things, bring them all in one data set. Each one of the things you add to it is just a data set. So you can
Okay, great.
configure those data sets.
And I'm glad you mentioned projects from maintenance and other programs as well. On Thursday, we have a session on asset trade-off and leveraging the benefits of integration across modules. This tool is actually can even be put in asset trade-off, and you can actually start seeing all the projects. So one of the stories we're going to be talking about is how you actually create your bridge plans, your pavement plans, your safety plans, and even your maintenance annual plans. Roll them all up into asset trade-off and look at the entire plan and then say, okay, this is what is going into my statewide transportation plan or metropolitan plan. And so that's where the point projects would start coming in. That's where the true value of moving these projects, because you're working on a pavement, then you're also working on the bridge deck, but then you also want to do a substructure project, but at the same time you want to put in guardrails for safety. How does all of that come together? Can I roll all of that into a single project and then try to analyze the impact? So re-estimating the cost, re-estimating the benefits of making those changes goes all the way up to trade-off analyst product too. So yeah, so we'll talk about that then. So if there are no questions, I think we are done. Yes. Yeah.
So the recommended treatments that's feeding the proposed treatments can come from any database. Then it doesn't have to be the pavement analyst that's feeding that. Any pavement management, other pavement management systems.
Yes, you can certainly bring in data from any systems and start showing them using the visual projecting tool. Some of the features in the editing tool, like I edited the project, now recalculate the cost. It goes back, looks at the unit cost, or recalculate the estimates, the benefits, and how does that change? I mean, that's where the power of integration comes in. How much can you actually keep hitting an API from an external system? You know, how much, that's, I mean, so it can be done. It's just a matter of, you know, how many pieces do you want to have in different places.
So looking at this graph, I'm assuming that the detail, obviously, about the route this is all the same route, correct?
This is all the same route.
So if you were to take away the element of year and put that in a detail and maybe scale the collar by year in an overlay, and when I say overlay, taking all that data and placing along that section of roadway together, wouldn't that then solve the issue of having these, and I don't know how obviously it must be a lot more complicated than what I'm thinking, but it's the year that's separating it. And if you can have the year detail within the actual, does that make sense?
I'm trying to understand.
So say, for instance, within the seal code on 582, it would say 2013 in the actual detail. So that way you would be building all of these in the same row, but removing the year scale on the left side. Does that make sense?
So removing the year, you would be...
So that way you would build the year within the lanes, within the detail. And that way you could have all the information together.
I think the one thing is you'd have a lot of overlaps, a lot of things just sitting on top of each other.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to know that they're on top of each other.
Well, you change your constraints at that point.
You might
But just kind of a thought while looking at this. I can see where this could be used in a lot of different places, is why I say that. I mean, you guys plan on bringing this to other modules?
Yeah, at this point, it's really just a widget, meaning you can attach it to any data set and then use it. So the first one that we went after was work plan. But you can attach it to any data that has linear referencing to it and look at it that way. So it's more of in that sense, it's more of just a way of looking at data. I know you can configure what's the vertical, right? You can do, it doesn't have to be year there, in some cases anyway. But this particular one, year was put there pretty on purpose, based on our discussions with Caltrans and other places. So anyway, it's the first go around. Like they say, they want to keep moving with it, and we'll put it in other places.
Yeah, I think this, I'll just
Well-
speak out loud, but this is the problem that we were trying to solve. That one route, it had about 220 treatments across the 5 years. And so that particular case was just visualizing emerging patterns. If you have a similar problem anywhere else, that's great.
I think you would be available to show this during the rest of the week if you were interested in seeing some more detail. If you just corner Abhishek and get him, and I'm sure he'd be willing to show you some more on it. Okay?
Thank you, Abhishek. Let's give Abhishek a big hand. I know this is a very exciting tool that everybody's looking forward to using in the future.